Hey, if you're gonna chill, you might as well chill with some classic rock, especially when it's 11:25 at night. What is up, everybody? This is Jay, aka Multimedia Jay, and welcome to the Late Night Nerd Lounge. That habit that's hard to kick, indeed. How's the sound? Welcome to the Late Night Nerd Lounge. You too, although that does sound a little overproduced. So I might want to check the drivers for the microphone. Make sure that we don't have looping channels and stuff, since there was an update to the graphics card drivers. So why don't we take a look at this? For speakers, Yeti now configure. Nope, still kept the same configuration. It's just got to do some more with what goes through this, or just get a better microphone. It's like, all right. What on earth am I doing? Not very much, obviously. I'm just sitting here talking. And that's my definition of not very much. Not for someone like me who usually does things like what I do, which is what, actually? Well, the last couple of months has been not very much. But it's just like, it's going to get like that first radio style, isn't it? Where there's that word I keep saying over and over again, like stuff, 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 stuff. It's just, what am I doing? 2009 was a long, long time ago. Let's see if anybody even shows up for this thing, because I've dropped off the radar, and to make matters worse, I sprained my ankle. So those videos I wanted to make, it kind of is hard to make those videos when you're barely able to hobble around the house, and you're just hoping it's not serious enough to have to get a doctor involved, which fortunately, despite the crap going on with the 9-to-5ers constantly making me walk on it a lot of extra times, it has been getting better to the point where what used to hurt now itches, and I don't have to take extra painkillers for it anymore. I had a lot of sprained ankles as a kid. But I was pretty prone to them, not just from some crap that happened when I was born, where I guess my legs were pointing in the wrong direction. I had to have them in casts in order to have a chance at walking or something like that. My dad's told me this story a couple of times. But I also used to really like, it's hard to believe with how fat I am nowadays, I used to like playing soccer when I was little because of the Nintendo World Cup. And I realized that the Nintendo World Cup is basically the River City Ransom soccer game nowadays, and that the soccer depicted in the Nintendo World Cup is nothing at all like real soccer. But it was enough to make me want to go buy a soccer ball from the sporting goods section of some department store and pretend I was actually playing serious soccer and maybe not warm up properly and stuff like that. Bottom line, and plus at my middle school, going out to recess, you could have a lot of people just fooling around with soccer balls as opposed to trying to play basketball on the basketball court. So you'd have a bunch of people pretending they're Pele's a bit before our time, but whatever a soccer star was back then. I know about the soccer stars now, and I know about the soccer stars from my dad's day, but not so much the ones when I was growing up, probably because soccer's not as much of a thing here in America and stuff like that. You're calling it soccer, that's half the problem. Oh, shut up, all you football people. Yeah, so used to run around a lot, and I used to kick soccer balls a lot and pretend I was actually someone who could actually play soccer. So tended to be prone to foot and ankle injuries, especially when the turf was uneven, or, maybe I was, out in the woods or something, running around or something like that, not being careful, and I twisted my ankle or something. Sprained ankles are nothing new to me, but it's just weird that with the mostly flat surfaces I'm involved in, I would get one from too much charging around, or maybe soccer balling some pallets around when I shouldn't have because they were too heavy. So it's get the darn fork truck. That's what they're there for. Stop trying to wing it by soccer balling pallets around. Well, you think, if there's like 50 pounds of product on a pallet, that you just stick your foot under there, especially if you're wearing a safety shoe, lift it up a bit and then scoot it over, especially when you're like me and you've traditionally had stronger leg muscles than arm muscles. But well, that's one stupid thing I won't be doing again in my old age. But yeah, anyways. So yeah, Late Night Nerd Lounge. It's 11:30 at the Geek House. It's late at night here. What else are you going to call it? I was looking for a name that wasn't tied to a specific time of day. I looked at The Nerd Lounge, but there's already a channel and a guy with a handle doing that. British vlogger who vlogs about, well, nerd stuff with jazz music in the background. So I'd say he's got the Nerd Lounge thing down better than I do. So I think I'll just go with like Jay's Nerd Lounge or something. I've already renamed the playlist. We'll come up with something better if we can come up with something better. The chat streams are just, though, they're the descendants of the vlogs. Really, it's all about what's been going on. Maybe responding to some news stories and stuff. And really, if I want to have lounge streams, I should probably get more lounge-like with the sort of stuff that I talk about. And I'm being introduced to that, oddly enough, over on Twitch. The Twitch algorithms have been introducing me to what can only be described as lounge streamers. Let me see. This stupid fan goes from being too cold to too hot in here. I can't figure out which way to spin the darn fan. Either way, I usually have it going for noise, but it looks like the heat's actually running. Usually I have it going for noise, but it looks like the heat's actually running. Okay, this should be better. So, I mean, what I'm doing right now is basically just vlogging. It's a stupid-ass chat stream. Nothing exciting to it. But there's an entire scene of Twitch streamers that I've been not paying any attention to because I didn't know about them over on Twitch that basically just chill chat with a more radio-sounding setup and louder music playing in the background. So there's an entire scene of lounge streamers out there where if you visit their chat stream, they have everything decked out like it's a nightclub. Seriously. You know, I used to think that what I was doing was kind of like when Howard Stern televised some of his radio shows, but the way the radio does, where they go from music to just talking, I don't know. Maybe I should go in a different direction here. This is a stream after all. It's not old media, it's new media. But just crazy. So there's a couple of things that are going on that I want to catch up on with all of this, including some specific dates and stuff for the upcoming transition out of night shift. So whether I choose to leave the company or not this coming Friday, which is when the decision's due, whether or not I choose to leave the company, hey, there's Dan. Whether or not I choose to leave the company, there's really nothing second shift that like what I've been doing recently. It's either go to days with these folks or leave the company and probably end up on third shift, which would make me an early morning person. So I would go from I am the night to being one of those overly happy daytime people. Yeah, by the way, that thing cleared up, so that's gone. Now I just gotta wait for this sprained ankle to heal up, and I can actually go around and do stuff again. Although I'm at the point where stuff that used to hurt now merely itches, so I'll probably be fine by the time we're getting started again on Monday, because we have a 3-day weekend because of inventory this week. So the 9-to-5ers need to know whether I'm leaving the company or not by the end of this coming week, and I'll have an answer for them. But this will mean either I go to day shift, which means I go back to the schedule that I had before I went to nights back in 2018. So 1920, 1, 2, 3, 1920, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, about 5 years ago. So, and back then I wasn't streaming. So, I mean, there's noise blockers and stuff, but I probably will watch some videos from the middle of the 2010s to really kind of reacquaint myself with just how I used to do stuff like that. Maybe try and remember some of the nuances. Like, I know the traffic sucks on the way home in around 3 o'clock, so I probably would want to take care of errands after work immediately. So that way the traffic can disperse a little. I don't know why the traffic in this town is worse at 3 o'clock than 5 o'clock, but c'est la vie. That's one of the things I remember from the last time I was a daytime guy. The thing I hate about day shift is that it makes me feel like I'm a little kid and mom's wagging her finger over me telling me I need to go to bed at 8 o'clock at night. Because the only way to get a decent amount of sleep when you're getting up at 4 in the morning is to go to bed around 8 something or 7 something or 8 something. You know, if you're going in for 7 in the morning and you don't want to be rushing to get out the door when you first get up, you're getting up at like 4:30 or so. And of course, a lot of the folks that I've been watching on nights, I'm gonna have to say goodbye to. I might catch maybe the end of their stream when I'm getting up in the morning, like Vindalia, for example. She streams from midnight my time to sunrise most times. So I might wake up to her chill stream if it doesn't put me back to sleep. But for the most part, it's time to, check out some other talent that's out there. Tyranny does some evening stuff, so maybe I can catch the first part of her stream. But overall, I think I'm just going in a very, very different direction on Twitch with how the algorithms have introduced me to some of these smaller, smart-ass streamers, as well as the lounge streamers who do a better job with the lounge format than I have been doing all this time. They definitely gave me some ideas here, but I just got to get everything right. They also use louder music than I use for background music, so I got to figure that out without getting drowned out. Of course, audio ducking and other processing will help with that. That's something I wasn't as familiar with back when I settled in with my YouTube videos on making the background music only 7 to 10% of the total output. which is a kind of a rule that I've stuck to for years. But I think, there's audio ducking in the software I use nowadays. I could set that up and have the stuff auto duck automatically and save it as part of the template if I really wanted to. But we'll figure that out. All right, so let's clear up everything that's on the board here. The title of the stream mentions the final Pandemi-Rant because the XBB 1.5 variant has peaked here in Connecticut. The hospitalizations have peaked. The rest of the country it's worming its way around to the rest of the country, but not as fast as a lot of people thought it would. And the fun part is, although it was worse than the other variants, it also wasn't as bad as Omicron. So unless there's something else getting ready to happen, the numbers went down this week, including hospitalizations. And hospitals have been doing everybody's work for them and actually catching when people have COVID. You have people that are like, yeah, they're only with COVID, not of COVID. Yeah, well, that means the hospitals are doing our job for us in terms of letting us know where the hell this thing still is. So we'll get to that. Some data and some, more importantly, stuff that goes into the numbers has been released that has gotten me to the point where I really think that a lot of these Pandemi-Rants are just going to be redundant, and I don't really need to do this anymore unless something really big happens. So besides the Late Night Nerd Lounge, the Pandemi-Rants can end with this end of night shift thing next month. First, though, how about we deal with the ugliest side of all of this? And that is the hater crap that I've dealt with in the past few weeks. So last time I did a chat stream about the end of the Late Night Nerd Lounge, which is coming up soon, actually. This is one of the last ones. The last time I did that, one of the biggest troublemakers who's ever given me any problems on YouTube over the years decided to buy a membership. The thing is, though, I have my alert set to not show names in case someone has an inappropriate username, and I do like shout outs, and I also do, shout outs and stuff on stream. I do shout outs of who they are on stream, except for this guy, because quite frankly, he doesn't deserve it. We're talking about somebody here. Well, this is interesting because I've been talking a lot about the parasocial whack job who has been hating all of my stuff, especially my streams. Just I'll go to check the content list, dislike, 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 like just your typical no life. All I want to do is get mad on the internet kind of guy. And it's just, it's just hilarious. But I narrowed it down. So I narrowed it down to some high profile haters, because something that a lot of haters don't want to acknowledge, something that a lot of haters don't want to acknowledge is that there aren't a lot of them. Anybody who has any response whatsoever is better stream. What the? I got 11 seconds. I gotta check that out. Let's see here. What was this? Because that stream I did for ESO has been getting chopped up behind the scenes. What's this 10 second? Oh, it's split out. Oh, I see. So now the system, I gotta fix all that again. That system split out the some of the tests that I did to see what my bandwidth was midstream. But yeah, anyway, so there's been a parasocial whack job who's been disliking everything he possibly can because it's the only thing that he can still do. He's been banned for over 5 years, and quite frankly, every single time he does something adverse on this channel, it just shows more and more and more just how crazy he is. How do you get told for years that you're not welcome somewhere through bans and other stuff and still obsessively go out of your way to subscribe to a channel and dislike everything they do because it's the only thing you have left? This is one of the reasons why I supported hiding the dislike counters on YouTube, because the dislikes do get weaponized. They're the only option someone has left when they hate your guts and you've dealt with them every other way. So what that fundamentally means is that dislikes have no credibility. You don't know whether it's somebody who is really disgusted with your content or if it's somebody who just hates everything you do. There's next to no weight to them. And now, because this guy outed himself as, I narrowed it down. I knew it was somebody on US time because of when the dislikes would show up. I checked my information quite a bit. I knew it was somebody on US time. And the thing with haters is that a lot of the worst haters you'll have think there's more of them than there actually are. I can probably count off the names and faces of haters that have pestered me long enough that I have their names and profile pics and whatever's memorized on like one hand or so. Maybe two, if I really want to be desperate about it. There's not a lot of them. Most people out there are reasonable. Most people out there are reasonable. And if you get a whole bunch of people that are suddenly unreasonable, you can question whether they're even human beings in the first place, thanks to all this lovely botting technology that's used for things like hate raids and other crap over on Twitch, and also a little bit on YouTube as well. But that's why YouTube's constantly at war with spam accounts, trying to shut down spam accounts. But fundamentally, there aren't a lot of people in this world that are really that hateful towards you. If you go out of your way to make people mad, you're going to have more of these people around, and you may even attract them. But on your own, just doing your thing with just mathematical probability alone, there really aren't that many compared to what you think there might actually be. And so, I mean, I've had people come in, they've been like a fly-by-night, or they came in, blew up in my face, and then disappeared, never came back. I've seen people come in and whine. I've seen people call me all kinds of things. I've seen people say a lot nastier stuff than has ever been said to me by any of these haters, but they were never consistent about it. But, so there's only been a couple of people grand total. There's only been a couple of people grand total that are even high profile enough that I actually recognize the name and want nothing to do with them as a result. This is not very many of them. So it was pretty easy to narrow it down because I was familiar with which of these hate accounts was still active and still pestering people, because you can use regular Google searches to look up people's comment histories. You can look at your own comment history very easily if you don't ban these people. Stuff that they leave on your channel, it's very easy to see someone's comment history these days. But also, I mean, you can see what they're saying to other people or what other people are saying in response to them very, very easily. Just type the right keywords into Google and search YouTube, do a site search of YouTube for their comments, and you can get lots of results. It's one of the ways I've checked the credibility and some of the other stuff that people have said to me over the years that was rather antagonistic. So very, very quickly, I very quickly found out that this guy had a reputation for pestering others and stuff. And he pestered me, did every trick in the book to try and be incendiary, including not being a novice about it. He was banned over 5 years ago for crossing the line into defamation and saying stuff like that. So, and every so often I've unbanned him for a day just to see him pop up more comments on my videos. So YouTube has a shadow banning system. So to have him pop up when I've unbanned him, just see what wacko stuff he's trying to post and then ban him again is it just showcases just how nuts he is, that he's been trying to. It's very easy to check if you've been shadow banned on someone's YouTube channel. He won't even do that. He's been trying to send incendiary comments about everything that I do and disliking and stuff. That's just nuts. He also has tried to exploit technical issues with YouTube to get around being banned. Like there was a glitch one time where people could respond to other people's comments in your videos, and because they're responding to the other person, they could break through being banned, and you would see them argue with the other person. So, and then of course there was another thing too, where they could, if you had email notifications turned on, they could break through being banned to talk to you directly by responding to something you said or something else like that. So this guy exploited technical issues with YouTube that have since been fixed to keep coming after me. Now, this guy did all kinds of stuff that just says that he's nuts, and he does everything in bad faith, and nobody should be trusting him anywhere ever. And he might put up like a token video on his own YouTube channel in order to get around the classic criticism that people want to try and criticize YouTubers without making videos themselves. But overall, I mean, we're talking about somebody here who has just never wanted to be constructive. So, thing is, talked about how he was pushing the envelope here, how I would unban him for a day and see wacko and crazier comments show up. This crosses the line. This crosses the line, because after this wacko bought a membership, which I can tell from the YouTube Creator Studio has already been canceled, After this person bought a membership, that's when the dislike showed up. And that's all I need to see. I narrowed it down to a couple of people on US time. Thought I knew who it was. There's even one person in this group that I don't associate with who has tried to come after me on like 5 or 6 different sock puppet accounts. And I've just banned multiple accounts across multiple platforms because no, we're not doing anything. We're never associating with one another. The answer is no, go away. But this guy, he's exploited technical issues. Technical issues, said false defamatory things about me, harassed my fans, picked fights with other people in the comments when YouTube was bugged and he was able to do so, even tried to break through being banned by exploiting the glitch to abuse my email notifications. The answer is no. And because this guy has outed himself through the membership thing, that ends the mystery. It's over. Game over. The first dislike I see on every video that I get, I'll just assume is him. Do I have to be right? No, of course not. We're talking about somebody clicking a stupid-ass thumbs down on the internet that isn't even publicly visible anymore. I don't have to take any of it seriously. And if there's more of them, I'll just say, maybe he's just botting, or he's making sock puppet accounts to subscribe and dislike everything that I do. Yeah, this guy subscribed to me. How do I know? Because I've seen the dislikes show up when the stream was in unlisted mode, when I hadn't taken it public yet after broadcasting. So you're talking about somebody who is so obsessed with hating everything that I do that they've been trying to leave comments despite being shadow banned. They've been trying to leave nasty comments despite being shadow banned, been disliking like a mofo, and they've been following me like this for over 5 years. And they even gone so far as, hey, sometimes people overdo it. Sometimes they basically trip over their own feet, and that's exactly what happened here. So if I see that lonely little dislike on videos and streams, I'll just assume it's him. I don't have to be right. Now, in the grand scheme of things, your hissy fits on the internet don't really matter. I think I should just leave and find a better thing to do. Yeah, it says everything right there. I mean, why do you come after a channel that only got a couple thousand subscribers over 15 years, which has an effective audience with notifications turned on of about 130 people, of which maybe 10 or 20 will watch stuff, maybe 30 if I'm lucky. And I do things so differently from what the algorithm considers popular. The algorithm is useless 9 out of 10 times. And the one time this summer with that video, that PlayStation video I did earlier, that it actually was able to get views, YouTube shut it off. So I'm off the beaten path as far as the algorithm goes. I don't go around being all tacky, trying to poach other people's audiences. Not that I'd want to. With some of the fans of certain content creators I've seen out there. But I basically, why would you come after somebody like me? There's no point. Plus, I've seen all the insults for so long now. I've heard them all before. And then before I was even on YouTube, I wound up having to unplug the phone on my metal show on the radio because I was in the drunk time slot, Saturdays 9 to midnight. There wouldn't be any like be one nice person on AOL Instant Messenger. That's how far back we're going, all night long. But for the most part, you get drunks calling in from your parties trying to get you to play music with swears in it so they can get you kicked off the radio. It's like there's so much bad faith crap when you're talking about college drunks. The thing is, too, we're talking about the heydays of MP3s and stuff, and Napster and LimeWire and stuff like that. These people probably had all the party music they needed on their computers, and they had super big speaker systems on their computers, too. Why on earth did they need to call into the radio station to power their parties? It's like nobody ever wanted to broadcast during the parties on Saturday nights, and there's probably a darn good reason for that. But I've had all kinds of crap, not just with the radio station, with AOL Instant Messenger, too. I've even had people say they wanted to get it on with the skull of my late mother. So, of course, I knew who it was. It was a guy who is probably a sociopath, and I checked his I found out that he wound up getting into Facebook years later. I was like, oh, I remember this guy from college with all his wacko jokes. And he went to all the shock sites and wanted to see like bloody car accident footage and stuff. I'm like, let's go see what happened to that wacko. Oh yeah, what do you know? He's a conspiracy nut. What do you know? Gee, should I be surprised? He's a conspiracy nut who blows up to his 2 friends on his publicly viewable Facebook account. And he's never held a steady job in his life despite being a college grad. What do you know? How couldn't I have guessed this guy would wind up in such a rotten state of living as he approached middle age? That's the way it works though in life. Fundamentally, you got to worry about yourself more than anything else, because there will be people that you just look, the classic victim mentality of, oh, I can fix them. No, you can't. They have to choose to fix themselves. But so yeah, this guy basically ended all of the whole parasocial whack job stuff. There's nothing left to wonder about. It's just, I'll just assume if I get a dislike, it's because of him. 5 years is more than enough time for somebody to prove and out themselves that they're completely off the rails, and you can't expect anything good from them whatsoever. It just doesn't work. And I noticed that despite streaming ESO, were there dislikes when I streamed ESO before? Yeah, let's see here. We'll just see what happens. But hey, party's over. I have no reason to take nearly all the dislikes I get seriously anymore. It's like, this guy screwed himself. It's like, I have no reason whatsoever to take dislikes seriously anymore, because it's probably him or a sock puppet or a bot or whatever. No. And that's the thing. You can't let yourself get defined by the people that just want to tear you down. And especially can't let yourself get defined that way when you have people that like what it is that you do and want to see more of it. That also wasn't the only hater issue I had this week. I had some people who think they're way more important than they actually are make fun of some of the stuff that I was doing. And I saw it on the traffic reports where the traffic was coming from. I went and checked out the crap they were saying about me. These people are actually from a hate forum site. And they think they're so much more significant and important than they actually are. They sit around hating streamers all day. That's their existence on the internet. And they barf conspiracy theories at each other. And it's like a bunch of angry, gossipy old ladies at the bingo hall. Nothing else is going on in their life anymore. So they go down, they play bingo together. I hear so-and-so. I think so-and-so. It's just like, think like a bunch of grumpy old ladies just gossiping and cackling at some bingo hall or whatever, because the only thing they have left in their life, as if their attitude wasn't half the reason they were stuck in that shitty ass situation to begin with. Oh no, you might get demonetized. Hey, say it like it is, buddy. These are young guys that are acting like that, though. Like, why do you think you're an alpha male when you're like a teenager or 20-something or whatever? And you're acting like somebody like double or triple your age, gossipy old lady in some bingo hall somewhere. It's like, some people don't understand how they sound on the internet. They may think they're being macho, but they're really, I just read that as like, wow, don't even want to live the rest of your life before you end up in that sad elderly state. No. When you don't even have hardly any gray hair yet, you already want to act the part of somebody double or triple your age. Congratulations. Oh, and how about what they have to say about women? This streamer I hate is hitting the wall. She has to wear a ton of makeup. Wow. Congratulations, genius. You found out that women have to wear more makeup when they get older. Congratulations, dumbass. You don't say that it takes more makeup to look nice as you get older because you get wrinkles and stuff. I don't think that's how mucho people act like. No. See, anybody who really is a Chad, as opposed to all these people that wish they were, shut up and get things done. They don't stand around bragging about what they're gonna do. They just make it happen. Yeah, they're doers, not talkers. And they make fun of people who flap their mouths too much. Like, this is crazy. Such revolutionary things that older people have wrinkles, and so they might need more makeup than their younger counterparts. Woo! Wow, I really learned something there, huh, buddy? So pathetic. Hey, let's not make fun of this MultimediaJay guy too much. He might see the big surge in traffic and then come over here and start yelling at us. Oh, I'm sorry. You must have me mixed up with some of those snowflakes you make fun of who are constantly going over to the... I might go over to their website and mess with them, but on no means am I going to go over there raging at them for having an opinion about me on the internet like every other Tom, Dick, and Harry out there. Although that might be an insult to Tom, Dick, and Harry. Yeah, look, hey, older women needing more makeup to look pretty on camera? Wow, I never would have guessed. I've only been watching Mong Chi's cooking videos on YouTube for years. Who the heck is Mong Chi? She's like your elderly Korean grandma who's always happy and chipper on camera and does videos about cooking stuff like kimchi a bazillion ways and stuff like that. You know what? I was shocked when I found out that she's doing YouTube videos in her 60s. She's 60-something years old. I never would have guessed that she was in her 60s because she's that good with makeup. I was thinking maybe like 40s or 50s or something like that. No, 60-something. Let me just get the exact number. We live in the age of Google, so yeah, we're just going to have to not mess up this. She's 66 years old. Only a few years younger than my dad. 66 years old. Doesn't look it at all. So, yeah. And these idiots are over here like, oh, yeah, don't make fun of him too much. You what surge in traffic? You sent 10 hits to one of my socials. Enough, excuse me, enough for the traffic reports to actually categorize where the traffic was coming from instead of blending it with something else. That's nothing special. Like, the people they make fun of I don't even know what to say here. The people that these folks make fun of do both themselves and their credibility no favors by taking this bunch seriously. Like, seriously. Bunch of young guys acting like gossipy old lady. Yeah, really. And having to figure out such basic stuff as older women have to wear more makeup because they have wrinkles. Wow. That is so pathetic, even for trolling people. I mean, you're not exactly going to get under a lot of people's skin making yourself look like a moron like that. Anyways, I'd like to thank this bunch of lunatics for the free entertainment. The laughs have been very, very hilarious. Congratulations, dumbasses. So pathetic. So utterly and horrendously pathetic. Like, really? So yeah, it's been fun messing around with haters this week. But the thing is, that's part of maturing, is that you stop taking haters seriously and get a better perspective to where it becomes impossible for you to take them seriously. Because when someone gets angry enough, they eventually slip up. And I've encountered this a couple of times with people who have started arguing with me on the internet where I made them look like complete idiots before blocking them. Because I knew if I poked them in just the right spot, I could get them to say something that basically tore their own argument down, but they'd be too stupid to see it. Troll. Let me refresh my channel content there. See if the bozo's lurking in the back. Nope. U.S. time. It's past his bedtime. I'll probably see something during the day tomorrow because I hate chat streams. Ugh. So, let's see. Anything? It's the forum. It's like fruit farm site. I don't know. It's definitely a internet loony bin, that's for sure. See, that's the thing with some of these websites where these people are constantly complaining all the time. It pens them up because they think that their little website is like some big billboard, some big platform for them. It's nothing. Kiwi Farms? Nah, not Kiwi Farms. These people these people aren't even big enough to shine the doormat of Kiwi Farms or anything like that. It's like a little hate. It's a little hate group that makes fun of streamers. So I was already familiar with some of the crap they were talking about because I check it out for cheap entertainment. It gives me an example of what haters are talking about these days. So when people show up acting like total wackos in my chat, I'm like, already seen it before. Because you're talking about people that just out over and over and over again. They have zero critical thinking skills whatsoever. And while they're calling people snowflakes who can't take criticism, they're projecting their own feelings over facts crap. Like, the facts don't. That's why I'm not going to go over and do what these guys are hoping I'll do. I'm not going to go over and start yelling and arguing with them because they've shown through the crap they post that they don't listen to facts. Only their feelings matters. It's like, oh, well, this guy, he can't get Twitch partner. I can get Twitch partner. Anybody can get Twitch partner. You just have to do the right stuff and attract the right audience. The correct form of that, my argument on that is I don't want to get Twitch partner because Twitch partner sucks. Exclusivity clauses, crappier revenue splits. You get to brag about, I'm partnered on a supremely minuscule online streaming platform that has next to nothing to offer and systematically punishes its biggest content creators because of its own limitations. Like this big Twitch streamers that have hitting the wall. That's a manosphere term that refers to women somehow being substantially less attractive when they get old enough to start having trouble getting pregnant. So it's part of why there's some guys out there that don't want to date women that are older than 30 or 32 years old or whatever. So the wall is undefeated. The wall is undefeated. Yeah. And guys can't have issues as they get older either. It's all just they hate women. That's what it boils down to. They were in some bad relationship. And in the case of the MGTOWs, men going their own way, they've sworn off ever being in a relationship ever again because they think all women are out to get them. It's like nothing to do with character and meeting good people and, don't grovel around in bars just to find somebody to have a girlfriend or whatever. No, nothing about looking for character and personality and really getting to know someone before making any kinds of commitments. No. They get burned like 1-2 times, whatever it is. They get burned and they're like, well, they're all like that. I hate them all. So it's practically, and that's the thing. Some people call these people incels. They're not. It's a voluntary vow of celibacy when you decide, I'm never dating women ever again, blah, blah, blah. So the term's not accurate to describe these people, but it's just been funny as heck listening to these guys. So no, I don't want Twitch partner. Twitch partner sucks. Be better off with YouTube partner. And by the way, YouTube is going to be rolling out some new tier of partnership that doesn't involve ads sometime this year. Last I heard, it was for Q1, Q2. I don't know if it's still on track for that, but the YouTube answer to Twitch affiliate is going to shake everything up. That's the one thing YouTube's missing. YouTube has spent the past couple of years catching up to Twitch in terms of monetization opportunities because people are like, why should I just sit here and get crappy ad revenue when I can go get subs on Twitch and people can pay my rent instead of my internet bill? Don't know if YouTube ad revenue will even pay an internet bill anymore with the way things are. But no, he wonders why he can't get Twitch partner. It shows that they don't watch they don't watch anything I say. They don't listen to anything I say. They don't know any of my talking points. They just want to they just want to very quickly be like, yeah, he's a low budget Devin Nash clone, blah, 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 blah. Really? I have more of a corporate background than Devin Nash. Devin Nash is so stuck up that his CV is very, very easily findable via Google. He has a LinkedIn page. Oops. There you go. No more tripping the speakers. He has a LinkedIn page, and he's all into personal branding and stuff, so he has to assume that people are looking him up on Google. One of the top results is his LinkedIn page, where you find out the only corporate experience he has was he spent a couple of months in a hotel company shortly after graduating college. Could be an internship for all I know. No, my background's way more corporate than him. I have a background in data analytics. I also have a background in hard sciences and technology, and the tech side of it fundamentally means that I pay attention to the technical side of stuff that YouTube and Twitch roll out. So that way I don't tell people everything's their fault when it could be some computer system causing the problems. If anything, you say Devin Nash is just a more popular clone of me. It's just not the other way around. But yeah, these folks, they run their mouths enough that they just make themselves look completely and totally stupid. And if they think I'm going to take him seriously, the answer is no. I got way better things to worry about than a bunch of people gossiping in some small little website that makes fun of streamers all the time. Although it is fun to pop in and read what they're yammering about for cheap entertainment. So how was your month? Yeah, so that pretty much wraps up the whole hater crap and stuff like that. Look, part of maturing as a content creator is being better at dealing with haters. When you're no longer as naive, you stop taking those bozos seriously. I mean, if someone crosses the line, get law enforcement involved, obviously, but it's just fundamentally your fans have to matter more than the people that make themselves look crazier and crazier with the stuff they do. And furthermore, also your platforms matter as well. If you're involved on Twitch, where part of their business model is farming fake friendships and farming fake relationships with others, then, if you're on Twitch and part of the business model is farming those fake relationships, then you can't really complain when the results of those fake relationships come home to roost, which is what has happened to some of these streamers with some of these stalker situations and stuff like that. Just, come over to YouTube and see a world where streaming doesn't mean some personality that you become attached to. It could be that you like the content and not necessarily the person making it. I used to think that was a bad thing, but after seeing the way with some of the crap these streamers do, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it's not so bad that we can have channels like the Brownville Food Pantry for Deer, which is literally just camera of deer eating oats out of feed troughs. It's relaxing, and some people have actually said they've gotten through hard times in their lives, settling down and relaxing, watching deer eat. Low frame rate, webcam quality, just no music, nothing, just deer munching on oats. If they don't eat all the oats in the trays and they run out and they start nibbling them off the ground. That's the channel. And when it's not winter and the deer are staying in the woods and not looking for food anywhere they can find it, then it's a bird feeder. It's a stream of a bird feeder and birds all summer. Yeah. You got that. You got mainstream media. You got cartoons. You got stuff that is far, far, far removed from the personality-driven, fake relationship farming, fake friendship farming crap that goes on Twitch. And people wonder why I'm so critical of Twitch. Let's see here. Lifetime, 47 minutes-ish. Almost 48. Let's get up and stretch, refill drinks, and talk about more stuff when we get back, shall we? getting kind of radio-like with some of this stuff and some of the music and things like that. But the big reason why I wanted to go to a break for that, besides getting up and stuff, and of course getting away from the whole hater tangent with the crap I've been dealing with lately, and refilling drinks, of course. Gotta make some more of that next go around. I'll probably do that. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to do is bump the heat up a little. I've had the heat down lower than it otherwise would be. You know, I've just been tossing on a blanket because everything's super expensive right now because of the diesel issues, and Eversource is basically fleecing the Northeast right now. I imagine there'll be some congressional probes or something like that looking into this sometime in the next couple of months. But you don't rip off an entire region of the country without there being consequences. So imagine, especially Elizabeth Warren's part of the country, there'll probably be some Elizabeth Warren thing where she's like, I want to bring in these Eversource executives to grill them on Capitol Hill and stuff like that. So someone going in for the Senate so-and-so whatever committee or whatever it is. But I imagine I'll probably be seeing some videos on Twitter at some point. Look at these executives that can't come up with good reasons why they had to rip off all of New England last winter. But either way, it's been a relatively mild winter, though. We haven't had any real notable snowstorms. The big issue is when we have winters like this, it can very easily swing in the other direction, and we end up with a February that's colder than January, and a compressed winter of about 5 weeks in February and March. So I don't know if we might be running into something like that. But so far, the La Nina thing has definitely held up and stuff along those lines. So what do we have left to talk about? Well, we have the final Pandemi-Rant and other upcoming changes. So yeah, Jay's Pandemi-Rant's the reason why I want to go into browser mode tonight. XBB 1.5. You know what? Let's see if we can do a stuff from streams with this. YouTube's been nerfing this capability very recently, especially since they redid the UI. But just in case, see if we can make a stuff from streams for this. Not something I think I can really do anymore, because actually Twitch is better at that now than YouTube is, using the cloud editors to create something. But XBB 1.5 has peaked here in Connecticut. I was keeping an eye on how it broke the hospitalization trends and things along those lines. Link up browser mode to Google Chrome and the numbers. So I was going to do a separate stream for this. Let's see here. Was going to do a separate stream for this. Oh, look, Twitter. I was going to do a separate stream, but I think at this point, I don't think it's really worth it. I really don't think it's worth it to even bother with these things because of what happened with XBB 1.5. So here, oddly enough, Twitch Purple is where the XBB 1.5 is out of all these genomic sequencing things. Mostly a Northeast thing spreading into the Mid-Atlantic region, heading towards dominance in the Southeast and out by Texas. It's worming its way across the country. But we mentioned that last time. What I'm most interested in, though, is this. The admissions has peaked. Even if we go down to the counties like New Haven County, which had lots and lots of problems, we see a dip, a little bit of an increase and stuff like that. Hartford County, which shares data with Tolland and Windham County, so the entire northeastern chunk of the state shares hospitalization data that's only updated once per week, has peaked. Litchfield County, I think, is linked in with, not to be confused with LinkedIn, of course, but it's linked together with New Haven and Middlesex County, I think. And I think Fairfield and New Haven are separate. That's why if we sort these in ascending order, we see groups of numbers linked together. So all 8 counties and stuff like that. So we do admissions per 100,000. I don't want Fairfield County to be highlighted, though. Let me just do, not Fairfield, give me New Haven County. Give me New Haven County, see all 8, and da-da-da. Yeah, see, everything's in chunks because the hospitalization data is split into administrative districts. So you can figure out what's going on in various parts of the state of Connecticut just by clicking on about 3 or 4 different counties. Cases we knew we couldn't really trust because people are using home tests and pretending they don't have it. If you get a case that's too mild to land your ass in the hospital, then you're going to have people, oh, it's not COVID, it's a cold. And that's unfortunately where this came from. So I finally got some, here's the extent of it. Hartford County, just leave that up there. Better yet, here, let's just bounce out to New York and bounce back to Connecticut. So this is an estimate, so this could swing in either direction. But we see here is a bump and a peak. Not as bad as Omicron, which was way the heck up here, but still the worst. And so the question you always have to ask when you're looking at numbers is what goes into those numbers? Because all throughout 2022, we had some of this. Gradually it got worse, then bam. Of course, you know, XBB 1.5 was an improvement over its predecessors, which isn't good for us in terms of immune evasiveness and transmissibility. But some information on the numbers has been coming out that has indicated that what happened here was similar to what happened with Omicron. This thing went around and caught people without boosters, and it found the unvaccinated and the medically vulnerable. So everything again, everything the experts warned us about with COVID happened again. Yeah, and of course they're incorporating bivalent information into the vaccination stuff because the COVID Act now folks know that the vaccination data is outdated. And here is the bivalent booster. This is now what they show in the comparison charts is bivalent booster adoption. Who has the most up-to-date shot? So all the old stuff is pretty moot at this point, especially with XBB 1.5. But this was it. This was the one that it looked like we'd have to be concerned about it, and that's as high as it went. So what the experts talked about is they were proven right yet again. You don't want to give this to somebody who's more medically vulnerable. The people that were going into the hospitals were people that were not up to date on their shots or had other conditions that made them vulnerable, people that weren't careful. This thing found its way around, wormed its way around, and found victims. Simple. It wormed its way around and it found victims. Everybody in my family who wound up dead from this thing died because of the exact same thing. They were medically vulnerable and somebody else gave it to them. So the stuff the experts have been saying for technically years now continues to be correct. It's not so much about what this thing, take steps to protect yourself, get vaccinated, get the bivalent booster, wear a mask, filter, clean the air, the Swiss cheese approach, which, by the way, all the super rich people at their conferences are doing. There was a billionaire summit over, I believe it was in Europe, that had very stringent requirements. Hollywood, movie sets and filming movies in Hollywood has strict COVID stuff now because you don't want to run the risk of somebody having to isolate when you're trying to shoot a movie. So everywhere I look, the super rich are doing everything they can to mitigate and avoid this thing. Same thing, too, up in Newton, Massachusetts, where Dr. Walensky and Dr. Zha's kids are going to school, spending more money just on ventilation upgrades to make their schools safer than some of the towns out in my woods have for their entire budget for the year. One line item in these super rich Massachusetts towns, bigger than the entire education budget for the whole town in my neck of the woods. So rich people are being cautious, but then there's this nonsense going through the media about how people that wear masks are holdouts or rebels or whatever. So why is it that rich people get to be tenacious while everybody else needs to just throw their hands in the air and accept mass infection as the new normal? No. Especially when scientists are still working on what are those cumulative effects of too many infections. Or better yet, too many infections in too short a period of time because you do absolutely nothing to protect yourself. And the viruses and these variants keep evolving to evade even infection immunity from one or two variants ago. BA5 was evading infection immunity from the original Omicron. XBB 1.5 was evading immunity even from the BQs. So, but I think this story of what happened with XBB 1.5 in the Northeast is going to happen elsewhere in the country. And I think this is going to be what we see unless some new civilization-threatening variant with more severity comes out, similar to the earlier ones. I think this is going to be the story over and over again. So, I have some masks to use up, but even still, I'll keep the masks around because it's probably cheaper for me to have a mask than risk losing my job because I blow all my sick time in one single week of having to isolate until the CDC lifts that guidance, of course. But here, let's go over the waves one more time here. This was UK Alpha, no vaccine. That eventually died. Delta variant did this. Omicron is the big spike. BA2 got us to here. BA2.12.1 is this spike in May. BA5 in the summer. BQs in the autumn. And then the Kraken XBB 1.5 shooting everything up going into 2023. Good. At least I got the year right on the date. Ooh, the heater's clunking. Good. Lets me know it's working. But actually, the cover warps when it gets warm enough, so it's definitely warming the place up. What are we at? 68 degrees now? Like the houses I grew up in, all you really need is 68 degrees. But yeah, this was it. And so I think, the rest of the country, of course, you have, a lot of anti-vax nonsense in other parts of the country that might cause more problems out there. But for the Northeast, we've pretty much seen it at this point, although we are talking like 80-something% of the cases are XBB 1.5, so it wiped the board of most of everything else by now. But here's where we're at. There's other parts of the country where this hasn't happened yet, but the Northeast is the template for what's coming. And it's going to happen at probably different times of the year and stuff like that as this thing makes its way around and stuff. I think the Southeast and Texas might be worth keeping an eye. These regions might be worth keeping an eye on here in terms of who has the Northeast story next. That's the thing. I think what we've seen here is, if this is it, this is what we're going to see with these waves, then I can just say at this point that a lot of whenever this breaks, it's people blowing off boosters or something like that. Because let's go over this one more time here in Connecticut. If Omicron scared a bunch of people into getting a booster shot, then there wouldn't be as much of a jump up in this part of the year. Also, the bivalent booster came out in September. So this jump would have happened earlier if people weren't spooked into getting another booster shot. So there are some people that won't actually go get updated on their shots unless something scares them, which is not the way to do it, by the way. These intramuscular injections have a 2-week ramp-up period, so you don't want to wait until people start getting sick to get caught up on things. So, no, it's I think what happened with XBB 1.5 would have happened earlier if people hadn't been spooked into getting more shots because of Omicron. Look at this bowl down here when everybody has the infection immunity and there's not much else going around. I don't know if we'll ever see that again, because then one thing after another after another. So, but there was a steady increase as people got complacent and the media acted like nothing was wrong, and President Biden said the pandemic was over, blah, 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 that crap. There was this going on, and suddenly we get this. But at least we know now, the extent to which these surges are going to go. And maybe there'll be more damage in other parts of the country where there's anti-vax nonsense floating around in higher numbers than there is here in the Nutmeg State. But, yeah, it looks like boosters are most adopted in Middlesex County. Interesting. So... But you see where this is going? We see where this is going, right? This was the worst that the Kraken could throw at us. Here in Connecticut, let's look at Massachusetts. Is Massachusetts in the same boat? Yeah, they've peaked and they're dipping. How about over by Boston, Suffolk County? Yeah, there's a dip there. How about Rhode Island? What was their spike like? It looks like they might still be struggling with it a bit. Rhode Island's got some... Well, it's not tourist season in Newport, so I don't know what the deal is with Rhode Island. Or maybe it could be they're a small enough state they send their patients over the border to Connecticut and Massachusetts. How about New York? Yep, see, yep, there we go. Two spikes, actually, with them, and then a dip. How about down in the Bronx? How about in other parts of New York City? Yep, they had their spike, and it's dipping. So I'm watching hospitalizations because hospitals, quite frankly, have been doing our job for us. If they're in the midst of all the argument about with COVID versus of COVID, they've been testing people and things along those lines. And that's basically, they're doing our job for us and letting us know when there's something weird going on. So kudos to all those hospital workers who, once again, had to work extra hours and extra shifts because people are too stupid to take care of themselves. Well, and that's the malicious people. There are, of course, going to be immunocompromised people and other folks who caught it that are more vulnerable and got hit harder. Those people deserve our support, as in actually using mitigation measures to not get them sick. But I've said throughout all of this, the pandemic has been a character check. It's the sort of thing that separates the good people from the bad people in your life. And since it looks like this whole situation is just going to become the same old thing over and over and over again, I'm hoping that this can be the last of these things that I ever do. So it's going to take something really big and really nasty for me to ever return to this topic ever again. Because I think we've seen enough here. At some point, you're just getting upset at, waves that are more and more explainable every single time. If people don't take care of themselves, then they're sitting ducks. And if they're sitting ducks, they get hit with this thing, or whatever the next thing is and whatnot. It would take an earth-shattering, groundbreaking, civilization-threatening variant that's more severe for the story to ever change. But, people are caught off guard. That's what happens. So stay current on shots. Be tenacious. And when you see things pick up in your area, the CDC certainly didn't do enough of it. But they're like, oh, yeah, why don't you just bring back the mitigations if things pick up? They picked up. And what happened here in Connecticut? I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to make a stuff from streams thing out of this, but let's just hope that this can be finally the final Pandemi-Rant, because it seems like unless something really bad happens, these things have turned into, we've seen this before. No sign of Billy from the Game Chasers just yet, and no sign of Rebecca MC ending for the night. I don't know who those people were that stopped by earlier. Let's see here. Let's see. What else is there left to talk about as we play catch up on this dying format of Late Night Nerd Lounge? Yeah, well, chat streams as I know them, I pretty much am going to be kicking to the curb. Twitch has been introducing me to lounge streamers. So it all started, Twitch has been introducing me to lounge streamers, which represent basically the algorithms improving over there, not being as crude as they used to be. So let's see here. One of the more interesting things that's been going on in the last couple of years with Twitch is that Twitch has been introducing me to streamers who are somehow similar to streamers I already watch. We talked about Yummy2 being similar to Yugi in terms of her presentation and stuff. And then there was a whole situation with No Haley No, where she did multiple collabs with multiple streamers at her apartment. And because I watched one of those streams, a similar looking stream visually was recommended over on my Twitch page. But now we have this going on. Browser mode. I'll know when Twitch gets their algorithms tuned up when Sarah starts getting discovered by Minx fans. Arissa614 looks kind of like just a Minx with the huge eyes and the eyebrows and stuff and the eyelash makeup and stuff like that. And she talks about some of the wild stuff too, but she's actually STEM. She's from Croatia, and she's studying computery stuff in university in her mid-20s, so Zoomer. But interesting how the Twitch algorithms introduced me to a chat streamer who, interesting how the Twitch that is similar looking to Just a Minx. I'm telling you, I don't watch Just a Minx anymore because she has lots of problems with self-sabotage behavior and stuff like that. But interestingly enough, the Twitch algorithms sent me her way. Now she can get just as wild as Minx is, but the verdict or whatever is still out on what's going to happen in terms of the verdict is still out on what's going to happen in terms of what happens and whatnot with her channel. She's still incredibly young. I think Minx is way older too, but it's just interesting how Twitch is playing around with this algorithm stuff and it's having rather bizarre results. But because we're talking streamers who raid off that hang out around 100 concurrents or so, these aren't people that are, oh, look, Ray's doing something. That's cool. Aspiring content creators, 8 billion people in the world. Don't let those 5-10 people you know IRL who are talking about you discourage you from getting with hundreds of thousands of people through the content you'll make. They're not your target audience. So ignore. Oh, Muaz. See, since Jake from YouTube follows them, this Muaz, Moz is actually how you pronounce it. I keep seeing his tweets, even though I don't follow him. But he's one of those commentators who it looks like he's cleaned up his act a little. He's not pointing the cannon at people as much as he used to. But the thing is, though, the big reason why you don't want IRL people in your audience is they have too much dirt on you. They're too prone to doxing you by mistake. I mean, yeah, I got an extra viewer because my grandma watches my streams. Yeah. And then they're like, I remember when you were captain of the football team at such and such high school. Like, no, you don't want that. No, you don't want that. It's, you don't want that sort of thing. Next thing you know, some weirdo's ordering pizza to your house or something because they connected dots together, and grandma's responsible for you getting doxxed. So what are you gonna do? Ban grandma? Yeah, you really don't want that kind of stuff. But I'm just looking over Twitter right now at some of the stuff that's been going on. What's Rebecca tweeting about? If you're wondering who the heck Rebecca MC is that I keep chattering with, she's one of the few people that'll actually say Twitch bad, YouTube good. But she started out as an Instagram model. I looked at her socials and their history. Her oldest social media presence is Instagram. So she has a very different take on things than nearly everybody else that I watch. So different that I can tell she's very inexperienced at dealing with this stuff because she's talking with people that I'm not going to associate with because, like we mentioned, narcissistic commentators point the cannon at you even if there's technical problems that get in the way between you and your views. You and your videos getting views. So I've actually been paying close attention, sometimes being the counter argument in some of these things, but it looks like she wants to go with the people with like hundreds of thousands of subs that sell books and stuff, even though they all say the same stuff. And because they're similar to what other people are saying, the algorithm is friendlier to them because pastichery is very much a thing these days. But all of this, what you've been seeing with all this late night nerd lounge stuff, is going to go away. Most of what I've been writing is she rated off to someone called Dahlia Rex, who reminds me of Mistress Carey from WAAF when they still played rock. Yeah, I was playing a little catch up on things. I haven't listened to AAF in a while because they haven't come in well around here in years, and I found out why. They're a contemporary Christian station now. The owners actually sold. WAAF still broadcasts on HD radio and the internet, but the 107.3 license was actually sold off to a contemporary Christian station in the Boston area. So the 107.3 being the wild and crazy rock station up here era apparently ended in 2020, which shows how little I listen to the radio. But they haven't really been coming in good around here, and I think I know why. A different format. Maybe they have different wattage at the station or something now. But those rough around the edges rock DJs. Another station around here is WHJY in Rhode Island. Maybe I should check and see if they've sold off to a different format as well. Is it still the home of rock in Rhode Island? WHJY 94HJY. Providence is home of rock and roll. Okay, they're still around. They've been a wrong pipe. They've been a rock station since September 4th of 1981. I wonder what it must be like. I wonder what it must be like for HJY to have picked up whatever AAF listeners were still in southern New England that no longer tune into that. 97X has been around for a while, but it's classic rock, says Dan. Yeah, well, rock is kind of, I think Nickelback kind of killed rock for a bit. They got a little too formulaic and stuff like that, and everybody moved on to something else. Like, I was listening to Arissa talk about how people consider rock to be old people music now, because she's way too young to be contemporary to Linkin Park, but she likes Linkin Park. It's interesting, you know? It's interesting. We might be the first generation where there isn't as much of a generation gap when it comes to music, because there's also a much younger lady where with the 9-to-5ers. She's been working as a custodian. She's got 2 kids, young kids. I think she's like 20s, maybe early 30s, and she's suddenly getting into boy bands. So NSYNC was playing, and she was like, "Oh, is this the Backstreet Boys? Or is this NSYNC?" I'm like, what, are you getting into boy bands now all of a sudden, decades after the fact? She giggled. I was like, hey, you know, power to you. Just understand that these guys are all like pushing 50 now. She gave me this weird look. I still listen to Led Zeppelin and Linkin Park. It's Led Zeppelin's been around long enough that they've actually inspired bands that sound just like them in their heydays, like Greta Van Fleet and what was that other one called? Wolfhound or something? There's a song called that was like, woman, you're a woman, whatever. Sound just like Zeppelin, one of their bad relationship songs. I think it was Wolfhound was the name of it, and yeah. So Arissa had that on her stream the other night, but there's a bit of a cultural difference and a bit of a generation gap regardless. But what she's been introducing me to with the people she raids and the people she gives shout outs to is these lounge streamers. They're doing chat streams where they have louder music. So they have louder music and they have more special effects like you're in a nightclub. I mean, this is really basic. I'm actually still using real light bulbs. What some of these Zoomers are doing is something else altogether. It really makes me want to tune this setup up and get some audio ducking in so I can have something like that going on. I mean, I've been calling this nerd lounge stuff since I've been doing this, but what really is it other than talk radio type stuff? Of course, it was never supposed to be anything all that organized, but literally there are entire streamers on Twitch where their channel is just chatting stuff. It's literally, well, I can imagine the Twitch algorithms are probably friendlier to them than to the people still trying to do IRL, because the original idea for just chatting was to bring all these streamers home, have them stop barging into people's places with smartphone cameras and stuff, and just sit around and just talk. So literally it was supposed to be like a new media talk format in the beginning. Doesn't mean that all. I mean, a lot of the Twitch streamers nowadays, yeah, I heard of Greta Van Fleet. Of course you have. They're in Forza. Forza Horizon 4. Forza Horizon 4 had one of their songs. I was listening to that. I was like, what's this like cheaper Led Zeppelin? They couldn't afford the license to Led Zeppelin. So who's this Greta Van Fleet? Oh, it's a bunch of young guys. Guy just happened to have what people call a reincarnated voice or whatever. If you haven't heard what's the name of that guy? The Led Zeppelin guy. He's like 60 something years old now. He doesn't have the range he used to and stuff like that. So, yeah. Oh, of course, I heard that with Fleetwood Mac. I remember hearing some live MP3s of Fleetwood Mac, and Stevie Nicks was having a hard time. Having a very hard time trying to hit some of the notes she used to hit on some of her radio hits, because you get older and everything drops down. So, of course, if you're singing all the time, you could also be running into nodules as well that can throw everything off. There are actually bands that I listened to when I was a teenager that have disbanded because the lead singer just can't sing anymore. They blew out their voice at too many rock concerts, screaming too much. So, watch a react video of older people trying to tell Led Zeppelin versus them, says Dan. Yeah, well, the thing is, this is why commercial music is what it is. You're selling a product. And if the folks selling it before just can't do it anymore, somebody else is going to come along and pick up where they left off. Like Atari after the video game crash of 1983. Like, video games were considered a passing fad in some corners of the internet until Nintendo and Sega brought over the 8-bit systems and reestablished consoles as a very viable thing to have in your living room. Let's see here. But let's see. I would play some of this stuff that Dahlia Rex and Arissa do on their streams, but there's probably DMCA issues. So they're one of those things where the streamers are small enough to where the record companies aren't coming after them. This was the problem with Twitch, was that you had these bigger streamers attracting the music industry. But you're talking about somebody here. What was Arissa's sub goal for this month? 300 subs? It's like, hey, if I can get 300 subs, 300 times 2.5 of their tier ones, that's $750 a month. Now, I don't know what that's US. 2000s, 2010s, plug-in plays, consoles were a thing before then. Oh, my dad had a Pong machine. I got a picture of my dad. He said he swears off video games nowadays, but I got to picture him in like 1978 getting a Pong machine for Christmas. Like, it was one of those slider bar things where it was 4 different types of Pong and you slid a bar to select what game you wanted to play. So Atari would have actually been a step up from that. $750 a month divided by 4 is $187 a week. 40 hours a week means $468 an hour. There you go. Well, we should probably, you know what we should do? She said she got 300 subs. So let's do 300 times 2.5. Get that 750 back on there. Let's actually divide it by her actual. Let me go back. Let's go to Sully Gnome. Arissa614. Is that with or without an underscore? There she is. Let's see, 95 average. Give me the 30-day numbers for her. She streamed for 44. Ooh. So, of course, she's in college, so this is a part-time job. You want to talk about how lucrative things get. So 750, 44 hours streamed. This is going to be good. 44 hours streamed. So her sub revenue splits out to $17 an hour. That's probably better than the work study jobs that she can get. And is Croatia on the Euro? Let me just double check that. She's from Croatia, so is Croatia on the Euro? Also see if Billy, any sign of Billy. I don't know if he's streaming tonight. I might work on some videos instead. I've certainly got plenty of them to make and a big backlog, including stuff that some folks who like some of my videos have been wanting for years. So let's see here. Croatia currency is the euro, right? I keep seeing people donating. Yeah, as of the 1st of January, 2023, Croatia switched over to the euro. They switched off of the kuna and whatnot. So USD to euro. So $1 US is 0.92 euro. So the dollar is strong against the euro. So if she can attract a bunch of Western folks by staying up half the night, then there's a little bit of an exchange rate boost there as well. But yeah, they got rid of their local currency as of this year. They're on the euro. So 44 hours streamed in the past 30 days comes out to about $17 an hour. I mean, that's decent. Yeah, that's decent for, spending 2, 3, 4 hours working part-time, essentially doing loud. I don't even want to call them chat streams anymore, because that's really where the stream culture is splitting apart with YouTube and Twitch right now. Is that I went and found some chat streamers on YouTube that are doing what I'm doing right now with no music or anything. They're just sitting there talking. But that's more of a YouTube thing. Over on Twitch, with some of these streamers I've been introduced to who are smart-ass lounge streamers, not even playing video games, spending most of the time just chatting with whoever shows up and playing music. It's way more... They got things tuned up big time. So I mentioned this Dahlia Rex. Only seen one of her streams, so I'm not really going too wild with opinions. She might be a little too emotional, but she reminds me of... She might be a little too emotional for me to stick around. Did she get Oh, she's one of those faded partners. I see. Due past 365 days. Well, let me stretch that out a bit. She's one of those faded partners who got partnership during the lockdown. All right, so I might not be watching what she does too much longer than mature. Yes, that holds you back in the algorithm. Account created 5th of October 2020. Popped off with some big raids and stuff during the heyday of everything. Went viral a couple of times. Yeah, but I checked out some of her streams, and she does remind me of like a rock radio personality. I wouldn't be surprised if she starts out streaming on Twitch and then goes into being being radio talent somewhere. 75 average concurrence, but you just see that she basically rode the wave and got partnered. She's one of those faded partners that we go to last 30 days, 62. The threshold is 75. The last 365 days is exact for that. But let's do 30 days. But she's streaming part-time, though. That's the issue here. She's streaming part-time. This should be 160 hours. This should be 160 hours if she was going to be a full-time streamer. I don't know if full-time is really all that great anymore. But only seen one stream of hers after a raid, so I'm not going to say too much about anything just yet. Plus, I don't know what her subscription status is with going for subs and stuff like that. But she does remind me of Mistress Carrie from WAAF, so I expect rough around the edges and stuff like that. But this is a whole new set of streamers that I'm being introduced to, largely because it started with the algorithm. And so, I was thinking about that with the ESO streamers and their problems with the shared audience, where they want to grow, but they don't know how, because they have a shared audience. We had some drop frames somewhere along the line with all this. Is the broadband flaking out? Again, I'm only doing 30 FPS going out at 4,500. Yeah, 16 drop frames. Ooh, somehow I managed to screw everything up. 115 frames missed due to rendering lag, skip frames due to encoding lag. Is my Google Chrome getting that bloated in its old age? 16 frames dropped due to a network hiccup. I'm sure that won't be anything too exciting. So I go to slideshow mode at least once, stuff like that. But yeah, Twitch has been interesting. I mean, I was bored, basically, because I've just been walking away. The whole turbulent streamer thing and things like that. I've just been walking away. So I'll assume at this point that Billy's not going to be streaming tonight. So we'll get to work on some videos after this. 1 in the morning, got some hours and whatnot. Plenty of time for things to be quiet. Just got to see if Trucker Dude's going to go out and do some loads, run some loads on a Sunday. We have a 3-day weekend because of inventory with the 9-to-5ers, so I will have stuff to do tomorrow night. Might do the laundry as well, get that over with. Get the chores done early, and then have like a big ESO marathon or something to close out the weekend. There's no maintenance going into Monday morning. Just like last week, that's getting bumped over to Wednesday. So unless something gets updated or something like that, I don't know. Been working on making all my characters heal tanks at ESO, so if I get more people that fake tank and stuff, they no longer matter, as I'm sick and tired of getting treated like garbage in the queues because of this stuff. But either way, Yeah, these lounge streamers are something else. And the thing is, they represent the kinds of folks that I want to check out this year, even if I don't end up watching them on a regular basis. So last year I talked about how I had better experiences with people with 3-digit concurrence and 4-digit concurrence as the big streamers cashed out. But the truth of the matter is that Twitch has changed. This new algorithm-driven Twitch fundamentally means it's no longer about who has the most concurrence for the longest time. I'm curious when that's going to start impacting these big streamers that buy views and maybe bring them down to the level that everyone else is at. But when they started going nuts with the ads and the ad breaks and the AIP, the ad incentive program, and stuff along those lines, when they started going nuts with that, they just stopped being interesting. Then there were the big scandals with OTK and the rest of them. And now we have turbulent streamers to worry about. Like, out of all those Korean streamers I watched last year, Hot Chubby is the only one I might actually watch, and that's an if. She doesn't do a lot of streaming. She does a mix of everything. And I'm more likely to watch one of her YouTube videos and one of her live streams, because I'm finding nowadays that she needs the editing to be interesting compared to some of these lounge streamers. Some of these people just have better talent on the microphone than some of these streamers do. And it's not because of the language barrier or any accents or anything. I'm dealing with Slavic accents instead of Korean accents with these people, with these European streamers who are on EU time. So they stay up late into the night so that folks over here see them into just before prime time, actually. So you have all this going on. It's not because of that. It's just because of charisma and their ability to put on a show properly. And these people are just better at it. And so that's why I want to talk about, the year of turbulence and stuff. First, though, we should probably wrap everything up with what's going on with the Late Night Nerd Lounge and everything else with regards to this whole format. So the last day, or our last night operationally, if I stay with this company and go to day shift, our last night operationally is February 16th. Now, before that happens, I will be fuzzying up the sleep schedule. So this week is inventory. Thursday night, night 1 of inventory, is usually a 10-hour shift, guaranteed, because we have to do as much counting as we can. If you have these night shifters calling out and blowing their sick time because they're leaving the company, it'll be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night thing. I don't know when I'll get the chores done if that's the case, but it'll be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night thing if necessary. Usually it's Thursday night and a little bit of things on Friday nights. So, and plus I should also mention that if folks want to take severance and then try and come back to the company by reapplying in the middle of the summer or something, they don't want to come back with no sick time because they blew it all before they scooted out of there. That's probably not a smart idea. So blowing sick time because you're thinking of taking severance is probably not a smart idea. So you have all this other stuff going on and things like that. Here's the thing, though. The latest night, with how things have been, they've been pretty quiet lately. The latest night that I have to worry about is the Thursday of inventory week, maybe Friday. So by next weekend, it is no longer, if I'm in any way, shape, or form thinking about going to day shift with these folks, it is no longer important for me to stay up until sunrise. It's more important for me to be able to go to sleep earlier and get that started as soon as possible, so it's less of a jump to be getting up at 4:30 in the morning. So this week is actually the last week that I will attempt to stay up as late as I've been staying up, unless I find out that I can get something better at a larger company, which will probably send me to third shift, which means going into work at 9 o'clock at night and staying there till 5 in the morning. And my free time is in the morning radio hours, so to speak, the early morning hours. Unless that happens, if I stay with these folks, I go to day shift and I start working on being less of a night guy next week. So yes, I'm retiring the whole Late Night Nerd Lounge thing. Probably just go with Jay's Nerd Lounge if I ever do any of these ever again. But as much as we have until the middle of February before the transition happens, I will be working on getting up earlier long before that, because I've been finding out that when I've gone to sleep earlier, I've been waking up earlier and I've been fine with it, getting up at like 11, 10, 9 in the morning. So I'll look to move to a situation where I'm getting up mid-morning and then going to bed right after I get home from work, not even bothering. I mean, so that'll mess everything up with everything that I do. And it'll be like when I went to night shift a couple of years ago when I disappeared for a bit and I did Jay Emerges from the Darkness once I got used to the new sleep schedule and everything. But I've already done videos during the day before. It'd be streaming that I have to figure out what it is that I want to do. So, and some people have talked about how they would prefer, some people have posted on a poll that I've had on the community page that they'd prefer that I go back to day shift hours. Biggest problem I have with day shift with these folks is the company is declining. It's that simple. This doesn't really do anything except band-aid what's going to happen anyways. Things are going to keep slowing down. People are going to get laid off, and the immediate aftermath of what's going to happen that combines all the shifts together is going to be terrible. Because there have been people on day shift that have been carving out little jobs for themselves by kicking things over to nights. No more night shift. They have nobody to kick anything to. So the shortcuts they've been taking as part of their job, they can't take anymore. What are they going to do? I think there's going to be more trouble after the shifts are consolidated. Lots more trouble. I don't think consolidating the shifts is the end of the turmoil that's going to happen in this place. I think there's going to be a lot of crap going on in February and March. So it's something to very seriously consider. I got some phone calls to make to find out if I can go somewhere else. Otherwise, I will go to days. So next week is the last week I will be staying up as late as I've been staying up. It is no longer important to have any free time whatsoever versus fixing the sleep schedule. So yeah, Late Night Nerd Lounge came back after I said I was going to end it, and it's ending soon. Sooner than the February 16th last night, because I will make no priority whatsoever. The videos will stop too if they have to, because I will make no priority whatsoever in doing anything after I get home at night, especially when I get home early. I might just go to bed early, see if I can get tired earlier. Maybe we're looking at a situation where you VTO at midnight, come home, and that's it. Don't bother with anything. So, giant question mark as to what happens. Videos will probably be my best option. Just got to reacquaint myself with how I used to do things back when I worked days. Because I'm basically going back to the schedule I had, 7 to 3. That means if I don't want to be in a rush and whatnot, get up at like 4:30 or so, because oftentimes I'd hit the snooze button until 5 a.m. anyways. I'm not good with alarm clocks. So there's nothing really all that interesting in terms of second shift stuff. Everything's either first or third around here. So if I want to move on to something else, the odds are I'd be changing everything up anyways. So let's see what we got here. We've done the last Pandemi-Rant. I also figured out a way that I can extract it while it's processing, shave a second off of it, and see if I can do save as new. Even if I can't control where it goes, just pick a timestamp and do like 1 second later for the edit. And then when I can edit the copy, then trim it down. I'm going to see if I can still do that. Don't know if I'll even bother with a clickable program guide for this. But anyways, let's see here. No sign of Billy, right? I don't think he's streaming tonight. No sign of Billy? So that's the situation with that. Nope, no sign of him whatsoever. Nope, not happening. All right, I'll just assume he isn't. It'll either be chores or it'll be working on some videos then for the remainder of the night. Or just do ESO, cleaning out the writs in the bank that have been sitting around forever. So let's conclude with one last thing. Go over to the blog. Talk about turbulent content creators. The reason why, close and accept. Turbulent content creators. I can go dark mode on this. It just turned purple. So, turbulent content creators is something I've been talking about for quite some time. And it's one of the key reasons why I'm not watching a lot of the streamers I used to watch anymore. So out of all the Korean streamers I used to watch, the only one left is Hot Chubby. Don't even bother with Kyungi anymore because she's complaining about money. And she's putting up rather banal goals like, help me pay my rent. Like, there's numbers floating on out there as to how much money that she's making. So this doesn't work. So this doesn't work. Like I said, turbulence is going to be the name of the game. Things are declining on Twitch. Still watching the site-wide concurrence. They're floating around 2.5. So on their best days, Twitch is average in terms of their pandemic-era performance, in terms of the audience they're able to attract. And as Twitch continues to struggle over and over and over again, as Twitch continues to struggle, and they have all the problems that they have, YouTube is going to put a dent still yet again. YouTube's going to put a dent in everything, because YouTube is overdue at this point to talk about another tier of monetization that doesn't have ads involved. So it won't be limited to the kinds of things that YouTube was doing with ads. And quite frankly, YouTube is overdue at this point. YouTube is overdue at this point to divorce themselves from ads entirely. Because the reason why they throttled back the partner program years ago was because of the declining ad revenue from too many people being in the program, and things are getting split too much. But YouTube has written in the right to monetize and lots of other things that have tanked ad revenue anyways. So even for the people that stayed in the program, they've been watching numbers drop. Ad revenue is basically a meme on YouTube these days. The problem is, if YouTube doesn't do something about that, they're going to end up in a situation like Twitch, where people get smart enough to realize that the damage to their audience, either by ticking them off and driving them away or driving them to install ad blockers, is not worth chasing pennies for ads. There's people out there, too, that are complaining about AIP not being interesting anymore. I could have told you that was going to happen months ago. Money doesn't just come out of nowhere. Like, Twitch only has so much they can throw around. I mean, if people are running the numbers and finding out that AIP is just a flat rate for the programmatic ads that they have to run, and it's not all that interesting, that's just people realizing that they've been ripped off yet again and bamboozled yet again. And Twitch is limited yet again as a subsidiary of Amazon instead of a major platform like Facebook or YouTube. Now, Twitch is limited. They're very niche. And, they've had to downscale their operations in South Korea, the most wired country in the world. What more evidence do you need? No, and they're not really helping with the goodwill either by what they do to their talent. They're just not helping at all with that. You look at the way that streamers are treated. Look at the way that streamers are treated over there. It's not good. So, yeah. I don't expect the numbers to be good for Twitch anymore. The Streamer Awards, if Cutie Cinderella has one of those again, is going to be like a last hurrah for the Cool Kids Club that coasted on top of the concurrence they have during the lockdowns and the pandemic and stuff. So, knowing that this crap is happening and watching formerly entertaining streamers show signs of turbulent behavior, including some smaller ones. I wonder about Vindalia and her approach to YouTube Shorts, for example, and then Tyranny as well. What she might do, being somebody who is a full-time streamer. I'll have to check. What is her growth story on Twitch? What's Tyranny's growth story on Twitch? How ticked off do I think she's going to get? Turn off, we can turn off dark mode for that one. Let's see, with that dragon. Well, Tyranny is a veteran content creator, though. She had a YouTube channel during the Warlords of Draenor era. She went over to Twitch because she didn't have time to edit. Let's see. What's her story? So, a couple of lucky raids back in the 2010s, but during the pandemic era, as soon as this reloads. 2020, 2021, August 2021 at the peak. And if we set this to August 2021, let's see here. July, August. 4th of, yeah, it's basically, yeah, it's definitely declined. It's same crap that's going on. The same crap that's going on with Twitch in general is happening here. And that's why you got to take a look at, that's why you need to take a very close look. Of course, this is biased by some raids and stuff that were going on. But let's back things out a bit more. Here's 2021. Here's a spike during 2021. 19. See a little bit of a benefit from the pandemic here, and a bit of a skid. As things started to skid afterwards. So I have to wonder now. What exactly is going to happen. Is she going to get turbulent as well? But she's a longtime veteran of Twitch, so I imagine she's probably be the most mature about it. But still, still got to wonder about that. See, anything else coming in the chat? No, let's just see what we're doing here. So yeah, turbulent. The whole streamer turbulence thing is basically going to be, people that you've watched and enjoyed are going to start getting upset. They're going to start getting upset because things are declining, and they have to start looking at things like getting another job or going part-time. And I don't know where this whole, full-time is better than part-time thing came from. Maybe just some selfishness because, I don't have to deal with a boss. Yeah, but if you're working for yourself, you have worse like benefits and stuff than if you went to work for a large company or something like that. Now, that's something I saw, for example, when the Affordable Care Act rolled out, was that small businesses got screwed big time in terms of premiums. Meanwhile, the insurance, even from the struggling company that I've been dealing with here, the health insurance that we somehow managed to score for ourselves makes it so you have not a deductible, but you have a copay if you go to the emergency room. Insurance actually pays for everything except the copay. Weird enough. I don't know if it's because I still had to go through the deductible, but insurance still has to pay. So I had a situation where thousands of dollars in medical charges got knocked down to $150 copay, and then the hospital had a prompt pay discount. So if I paid early, it was less than $150. So ER, like 100 and change. Being your own boss seems to be horrible. You need to know how to manage workflow, and I couldn't do that. Yeah, but the other thing is, it's also about negotiating oomph. Big corporations have big customer bases. They have more negotiating leverage versus an insurance company. It's one of the reasons why single-payer healthcare is a discussion here in the States. Because if the government gets involved in health insurance, that's a huge base of customers, bigger than it undoes the divide and conquer of the private sector. That is a huge bucket of accounts that would be getting negotiated collectively for by folks in the government. So that's what scares a lot of people, is that there'd be a lot more oomph because of the whole stronger together thing, as opposed to whatever the insurance companies can do, or the size of the business and how the insurance companies treat the size of the business and stuff like that. It's just one of those things. More customer bases, more negotiating oomph, things like that. Then, of course, you have people that can write laws about how you do business in the country. So you get a little screwy again. But yeah, I'm concerned about tyranny. I'm concerned about Vindalia. And at the same time, I'm running into these people with about 100 concurrents, maybe. Not necessarily like the angry small streamers. If I run into somebody with a bazillion pronouns who gets mad at every single little thing on Twitter, of course I'm not going to follow them. Might actually blacklist their stream so the system stops telling me about it. But people that actually have a little bit of sass to them and a little bit of smart assery, it's interesting running into the people. It's interesting running into the people who are putting in the effort, but the system's not rewarding them for some reason. Those are the people that I've been checking out. The algorithm introduced me to Arissa614. There'll probably be more streamers like that too that I get introduced to. There's also some smaller streamers that have gained some concurrence over the years, like Nurse Huckleberry and folks that I found earlier on that I haven't been watching. But, this cool kids club of big streamers, it's time to say goodbye to them. You're going to see people getting banned for incredibly stupid reasons. You're going to see them complaining about money, even in stealthy ways. Twitch is just not in the position right now. You're going to see them finding other ways to monetize and stuff like that. Eventually, you're just going to get sick of all this nonsense. Ultimately, these people get too corporate, essentially, and they become less believable as people. And how interesting is that that's what happens to people on a platform like Twitch, where part of its business model is farming fake relationships with folks. Like, you have to be relatable to be on Twitch. And yet, big streamers can have lots of problems with exactly that. There's one wild exception. That would be Ray. the single most consistent, focused, and professional streamer in all of this. She gets like high hundreds for concurrence, sometimes over 1,000, depending on who raids her or what game she's playing. Her primary game is Dota 2. But since 2020, when Ginny did a joke raid because she looked and sounded very similar to Ginny back then, she's been absolutely can't play audio on her stream because I know she uses commercial music. Hope she doesn't have any problems because of that. She's been the single most focused streamer that I've run into who is, oh no, she just took a picture. She's not live. Interesting. She just took a picture for Twitter. I don't know. But you pretty much go over to her streams. You pretty much know what to expect. Dota 2 and some variety. Maybe she watches some videos or something here and there. But just keeps it professional the most out of any of the streamers that get the viewers that she gets. Some people might call that boring. I call it consistent. I call it being good at what you do. She also joined up with Gen G Esports. But it's amazing, you know, what happens when people just do stuff. You know, whether you call yourself a content creator as a streamer or not, the fact that you're just getting out there and doing stuff instead of fussing about behind the scenes crap all the time, that's definitely something really awesome. Let me see if there's anything else on Twitter that I want to talk about here. Spoutable, one of the rage platforms for people that don't like that Elon Musk bought Twitter. I'm not joining it. If you see a MultimediaJay on there, it's not me. It's a fake account. Report it. Or something. I'll actually say if I go on to any additional platforms. But there's a whole bunch of angry, I don't like that Elon Musk bought Twitter platforms out there that are basically trying to poach people. Twitter is in the middle of the road as far as social media platforms go. You're going to poach a fraction of the audience that's mad at Elon Musk buying it. That's not going to have a lot of critical mass. Just like Kick.com. Stake got its content booted off of Twitch because Twitch didn't want to associate with it anymore. So they just, get involved and run their own site. But I bet any money the slots will end up as the only thing with any significance over there because everything else will get buried. Businesses exist for lots of different reasons. Sometimes they exist just to mess with other businesses, no matter how dumb they get or how little sense they make. See, Cheongi became practically a part-time streamer. She's complaining about stuff. Okay, I'll find someone who isn't complaining about stuff. Let's see here. There's Twitch streamers that are offended by Lo-Fi Girl and current concurrence that Lo-Fi Girl gets. Yeah, well, welcome to a platform where it's not these like parasocial personalities ruling the roost. I think I've pretty much said everything that I was going to say that's been going around on Twitter. That's pretty much it. So that's where we're at on pretty much everything. I don't even know if I'm even going to bother with a clickable program guide for this thing. I don't think I really need to waste any time on this stuff. People hate Elon. Some people went to Mastodon and they left it. Yeah, they went to Tribel as well, but Tribel will ban you for believing in capitalism. So, already saw the documentation for somebody who took screenshots for exactly that. See, what are we at? 1:19 in the morning, roughly just shy of 2 hours live time. Not bad for a chat stream. Not bad for a chat stream. So this is going to be the last week where I make any substantial attempt to stay up late at night. So what's going to happen is after inventory on the weekend, if I get up early, I'm not going to try and go back to sleep. I'm just going to get tired earlier and go to bed earlier and just keep dialing that clock back until I can make the jump to 4 in the morning. As things are not exciting with these folks as this shift winds down, things are just not exciting with these folks. So we'll probably be out early. That'll be another reason to call it early as well. But I gotta go reacquaint myself now. No sign of Billy, right? I don't really see. Let's see here. There's no sign of Billy, right? Check my left box. He hasn't gone live. I don't even know if he's streaming tonight. So heck with it. We got some other things I could be doing anyways. 3-day weekend, so I could do some kind of ESO thing tomorrow after I get the chores done. But up until this coming weekend is going to be the end of my involvement with staying up till sunrise. Need to get to work on that sooner rather than later, and that's probably the best time to do it. If I don't find out I'm going to third shift. If I'm going to third shift, it has to go in the other direction. We're talking about me going into work at 9 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, coming out in the morning. So we'll have to see what's going on with that. But I got phone calls to make for that. For now, I'm just going to assume switch over to day shift or be open to going to a day shift job and then just pick a new sleep schedule depending on what hours I end up with if I end up leaving the company and going somewhere else. Lots of places are concerned about a recession, though. And then there's corporate influence to try and cut down on headcounts right now. People are unfortunately interpreting Elon Musk's leveraged buyout of Twitter as prescriptive rather than some screwy thing that Elon did. So there's pressure to cut staff all across the tech industry. Now that's turning into layoffs as well as some other stuff as well. I notice how, it's the bosses in charge that magically decide there's something wrong with the economy. And in some cases, with some of the screwy stuff I see on social media, there's people out there actively rooting for the economy to crash. Why? You want things to be worse for yourself? So many people out there are so easily brainwashed into screeching against their own personal interests. Wow. I thought treason meant something in this country once upon a time. You actively want to undermine the American dream? Shut up. Get out of here. All right. We have some things to figure out over the next week or so. Since I don't see Billy anywhere, I got some videos to work on. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.